through my poetry that I honor my ancestors. And that I try and preserve the joy and the sense of community that came from friends and family. This is called Pearl's Song. My mother, called Pearl, was born in red clay country of Alabama. Sapling planted in April, fine, brown Alabama girl, thrust outward into an older man's arms to escape red clay, Jim Crow, and home. 2. She is a good singer, this woman. Men have known her as she leaned against Chicago doorways, swaying to the rhythms of day. They touched her hands, bronzed her face, and planted seeds inside her. 4 times she bent to drop shoots. Twice boys, twice girls, fine, brown Alabama girls. No one watched her ooze each child out, knifing the hospital in 2 octaves. 3. Bronze cast figurine, she chiseled it till often I woke her song in my throat. Now it settles against the windows, dusting the curtains. Lately, turning into my mirror, I glimpse her. Inside my face, her dark eyes shut away, her gray hair hidden in my own, standing over my stove, or seeing myself in the windows of this wallpaper. I hear her song, see it dancing in the wild sunlight. This is a poem that's part of what I am calling a family series. This is dedicated to my stepfather. He and my mom met when she was in her 70s, and he was the love of her life. And he was a father to us in many ways, even though we were adult children. We miss you, Papa Brown. With tears newly minted and shining like new silver coins against our cheek, we smile, point knowingly to the empty chair, and console ourselves with the knowledge that you have gone fishing. We imagine you and God floating leisurely in a canoe somewhere on a clear Minnesota lake, anxious to catch walleye and perch. It is an easy rest for you, comfortable and well-earned after an arduous journey home. And when the fish don't bite, you break heaven's convention and make corn cob and grape wine, even daring to offer God a divine sip or 2. Over the past several months, this pandemic has caused many of us to lose relatives and friends, to in some ways be in isolation. And one of the things that happens, particularly for the elderly, is that they lose their memory. And so this poem was written at a time when my mother's dementia had set in, and it's called Tu recuerdes, which is Spanish for you remember, for Mom. Where are we, she asked with anxious uncertainty, for the 100th time in the last few minutes. My sister and I respond in steady unison, you remember. But she does not. Her thoughts on this journey scatter like pollen, dust, adrift in the wind. Her memories are beautiful for a brief, infinitesimal second. Then they flutter away, elusive butterflies. Elusive butterflies, beautiful still. Tu recuerdes? We want her back. The tall, laughing one who could recall with great acuity her childhood antics, things that happened in the past so many moons ago. We want her back. Our longing suddenly interrupted, shattered into oblivion by the redundancy of the question, her personal urgency. Where are we? And the hopefulness of our response, tinged with years of barely visible anger, frustration. Tu recuerdes, you remember. And of course, poets must always speak of love. We can't help ourselves. The end of a blue moon season. Today, dreams are shrouded. My heart hangs heavy like the gray mist that grieves over the sea at dawn. When we met, it was under a blue moon. Words spoken became jeweled promises, and feelings exploded, sweet and fragrant like ripened blue mangoes. Only memories are left now, delicate webs to encase the heart. They pull, gentle, like a baby's kiss, to the refrain of a mournful song. Some things were never meant to be. Once we tasted freedom. Once we tasted freedom, it was as if the heavens had opened up and poured thunderbolts and heavy rains upon us to wash away the stench of oppression placed upon us by over 300 years of enslavement, followed by decades of political, economic, social, and cultural subjugation. Once we tasted freedom, those before years became our tattoos of resilience, and we honor our dead, known and unknown, those who died during enslavement, those who were raped and lynched, those who were hung and shot for daring to plot rebellion, those who escaped and committed suicide rather than be recaptured. Once we tasted freedom, naively we thought the amendments and legislation would rectify the wrongdoing, bring a peace upon this nation, eradicate the savage hatred of white supremacy, and finally allow us to embrace our birthright of full citizenship, a birthright we had little choice in creating as descendants of a once enslaved people. Once we tasted freedom, we believed fiercely that we could face each day as full and equal, plot the course of our lives and those of our children. But we were mistaken. Once we tasted freedom, we came to see that the struggle for full equality has just begun. Racism, racist ideology, implicit and explicit bias runs rampant. Instead of overseers, we must fear the police. Instead of masters, we must fear conservative politicians who shout, "We will make America great again," without acknowledging that the past they seek, the greatness they want, is one filled with racialized domination over us as a people, as a black people. Black people. But they must reckon with reality. Now that we have tasted freedom, we will not go back. Those days are past.
Prayed for blue eyes. In her 11 years, no one had even noticed Pecola. But with blue eyes, she thought everything would be different. The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Yeah, come on. We scared to be ourselves, but ain't afraid to live a lie. We look in the mirror, wishing we had the bluest eye, the whitest skin, and the straightest hair. The black you are, the more your own people are in fear. Filled with self-hate, negative images of the motherland. Scared to be ourselves, but wanna look like the other man. It's deep, sisters get permed, some are asleep. Hate when the hair is nappy, hate when black people speak. Can only hang out with whites. I've seen it all my life. Identity is lost, but they thinking they all right until they're confronted with racism. Then they realize that all this time they've been living a lie, the bluest eye. But it ain't our fault. When we are young, we are taught that black is ugly and white is beautiful. And these thoughts causes the black mind to be at his funeral, mentally dead. If only I had blue eyes, that's what Pecola said. Life is an illusion. We all wear the mask deep down inside, so we won't expose our truest lie. Cause underneath it, we scared to be ourselves, black with pride. We'd rather have the bluest eye. Life is an illusion. We all wear the mask deep down inside, so we won't expose our truest lie. Cause underneath it, we scared to be ourselves, black with pride. We'd rather have the bluest eye.
Diva wants to know who will love black women. But who will love black women? This is a critical question today because we as black women receive so many messages that we are not worthy, not worth sacrificing for, and then we see black men risk their lives, go overboard for non-black women. So tell me, who will love black women? Just wondering.
If you're pro-black, I don't know what else to be. See, I love our culture. Toni Morrison described us when she wrote about Pecola. And Black Star touched on it in Thieves in the Night. But fantasy it is, trying to hide away from life. Life is an illusion. We all wear the mask deep down inside, so we won't expose our truest lie. Cause underneath it, we scared to be ourselves, black with pride. We'd rather have the bluest eye.
But I think I already know the answer. Us. We will love ourselves and each other. Who will love the black woman in all her fierceness as she cradles the lifeless bodies of her black sons after a police encounter?
So shades of blackness, move on even higher. Walking like the sun moves. We people do die for them blue. Move on even higher. The of blackness will be about. All soul shades of blackness, walking like the sun.
As she watches another brother imprisoned, as she reads about another weekend killing of brother-on-brother violence.
Walking like the sun.
If racism is not innate but learned, then why haven't black men changed? Are they also motivated by male privilege, legacies of misogyny and patriarchy that they witnessed while enslaved? Do they believe freedom is the appropriation of white male privilege to exercise over black women? Or is it deeper than that? Is the dislike and the disdain for us as black women a byproduct of slavery-induced trauma? We do not have a word for internalized self-hatred. We do not have a word for discarding women who look like the ones that birth you. We have a word for every other kind of ism except the ism of self-hatred and the ism of hatred directed at black women. There are some exceptions, and we say, bless you. Who will love black women? Us. We will love ourselves and each other. And we will love you too, my black brother. My black brother, my black husband, my black son,
the bluest eye. Life is an illusion. We all wear the mask
my
deep down
black
inside.
partner, my anonymous black men walking the streets or working beside us.
This goes out to my own
We will
kind.
not
What can't we
abandon
see?
you.
We so blind. The
Black
is beautiful.
women
Africa
will
is a
love
gold
black
mine filled with
women.
rich history, empires, the
And
first
black men,
civilizations,
too.
the first explorers studied the sun, star constellations. Yet when we were stolen from our land, brought to this nation, we are taught to hate ourselves, self-discrimination. So what do you really mean when you say they so ghetto? Are you making mockery of the people because they're not on your level? Or when people say I have good hair, I give them a lecture, because what they really mean is good because I have European texture. Our hair is naturally nappy, son. What's wrong with that? It seems to be more of a problem if you're pro-black. I don't know what else to be. See, I love our culture. Toni Morrison described us when she wrote about Piccola.
Since May and the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and many others, we have seen an uprising, unprecedented protests led by youth, by Black Lives Matter. But also supported by elders like myself and people like the late John Lewis, who inspired us. You call us, my tribute to John Lewis. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Who will trouble the waters now? Who will uphold the moral arc of the universe? Who will swing it towards justice in our political environment? Who will speak truth to power, truth to justice? Your accent dripping with the thickness of southern molasses, the platelets of black blood clotting in southern cotton fields. On the bridge of Alabama. Black sweat and blood pooling in the rice paddies of South Carolina, inside the urban factories of northern cities, and on the streets of St. Louis and Tulsa that once witnessed black pogroms. And most recently, in the burning streets of Minneapolis, where black people and others protest police brutality. Who will remind us that the very same police violence which fractured your skull, though separated by generations and time, is the same historic and ever-present white supremacist police action that asphyxiated George Floyd knee on neck. And riddled the bodies of Black women like Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, and Atitiana Jefferson, with bullets brimming with hatred. Let us not forget the oh so many suspicious Black deaths while in police custody. But John Lewis, you are still with us. Your stoic and compassionate commitment reminds us, because of you, we can. And therefore, we hear your voice. It whispers in the wind when we march. We hear you when we protest injustice, wherever it rears its ugly head. We hear you every time we cast a ballot to vote. And we must hear you scolding and scornful, rebuking us, troubling our conscience if we do not vote, if we follow the complacent road of inaction, if we allow ourselves to be complicit in racial hatred and anti-Blackness, if we are complicit in tolerating oppression of anyone, anywhere, for or of any kind of ism. Your body is still now. True. Death is your final sanctuary. But rest assured, your strong voice forever calls to us. From the past, from the grave, from your deeds and words, from the political positions you took, popular and unpopular, yet always guided by righteous principles. Your voice resounds. It calls to us whenever we need inspiration. It reminds us that change is possible and real democracy is within our grasp. We must reach higher like you. Always, always towards the stars. Always towards the impossible dream of freedom. We come from a people who could fly. We come from a people who troubled the waters and chose death over enslavement, who chose survival in the face of brutality. We are their descendants. You are their descendants. Today we honor you and practice your dance of good trouble. And to be sure, we will pass these steps on for generations to come. Poetic Interludes is a joint family production by Dr. Irma McClaurin in collaboration with her son, Antonio Elevation Allen. All poetry is original and written and read by Dr. McClaurin, while the accompanying rap and beats are written and produced by Antonio Elevation Allen. Contact for Dr. McClaurin is irmamcclaurin.com or on Twitter as @McClaurinTweets, and contact Antonio at elevationmusic8@gmail.com or Bronze Titan on Instagram.